I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. It's Monday.
Full lines, lots of arguments.
News Talk 710, KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range. This is the Jeff and Bill Show, and the debate's carrying over into this hour. The Homeland Security shutdown. Democrats want to see changes. Here's what the New York Times says. They want new restrictions on immigration agents, including requiring them to obtain warrants from judges to make arrests in homes, mandating that they show visible identification, prohibiting face coverings while they engage in immigration enforcement operations. Democrats have also pushed for stricter use of force policy and new training standards, as well as an end to roving patrols. And the debate is centered around the difference between administrative and judicial warrants. The judicial warrant is signed by a neutral judge based on probable cause authoring entry into a home, whereas an administrative warrant is issued by an ICE official without judicial oversight, authorizing arrests but not entry into the home without consent. Trump administration pushing on that in a 2026 memo, saying that if there's a final order of removal, so you've gone through the entire legal process and the judge has said, neutral judge has said, we're done, you're out of here, then should ICE be able to enter the home to get the person out of here without necessarily going through a judicial warrant at that point? Would an administrative warrant be enough? And it's text messages and phone calls hot all over this. Ben saying that I'm not following the Constitution if we don't give somebody full criminal due process rights the minute they step in here illegally. And just looking this up, the New York Times, by the way, did look at what it would take to have mass deportations efforts through the entire criminal system. It would likely take over a decade and cost tens of billions of dollars if every illegal immigrant that came into this country was afforded an attorney, a jury trial, full criminal due process rights. And part of the reason we as a country have decided to place illegal immigration under civil enforcement is because of that burden. When you have tens, if not 20 million illegal immigrants coming here, to ramp up the entire system to be able to criminally deport them would take well over a decade, billions of dollars. There's already, as of this date, a backlog of 3.6 million cases in immigration court to try to get people out of this country. It's just not feasible. And to run out there and say, well, you don't abide by the Constitution, you don't abide. I'm hearing it from the same people that have just allowed 10 million people to walk across our border and to go, well, no one's illegal on stolen land. Oh, but the minute you want to try to get them out of here, the whole Constitution kicks in and we absolutely have to keep them here and all that. I just don't buy it. I'm sorry. Let's go to the phone lines. Mary, Wyoming. Good morning, Mary. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. Jeff, you're doing a very good job of defending my position, at least. And that is that putting a foot on American soil does not make them a citizen. We have rules and processes that you go to become a citizen. On a federal level, you cannot vote if you just by putting your foot on American soil. The states there are states that allow people, illegals, to vote, but that is not the case. The numbers that keep, you only refer to the 10. Before this Biden thing happened, we were still talking about at least 11 million illegals prior to that. You got to add it on. I'm tired of that 10 million thing. We're talking about 20 plus illegals out there. And they are, and many of them have been here for 20 and 30 years. It's been an invasion. And then you have the problem of what you have been talking about on the judge's judicial warrants. 60%, that has been a big issue this weekend. A lot of the talk shows have been talking about the judicial warrants versus. And the numbers come out that over those judges, there are over 60% are Democrats, and they're activists. They're not just, and it's not because of their party that I'm bringing that up. It's because of their position. They want open borders. And so that 60% is making it very difficult to get those judicial warrants to be able to do it, the ones that they are getting. No credit that this administration has to go through that process where Obama did not have to do any of this. And then lastly, I'd be okay with masks as long as the protesters and activists, and there's a distinction between the two, excuse me, that there should be the same rules, no mask or face coverage, and there should be a huge fine and jail time if they do. And then lastly, I would say, I lost my chain of thought. In other words, it's regarding the mask. I think of modifying, instead of what they're wearing right now, which is intimidating. Why not a clear face shield with some type of it could have a little manifesting, magnifying in it, so it distorts their features.
Now I can see that now, so Mary.
That,
the thing for me,
activists can't use that tracking, but things to dox them.
Yeah, the thing for me is and again, I am not 100% with the demands on the Democrats on this one. I think they've got some planks that are solid. Other ones I think are there more for negotiation. If I was in the room, I am persuadable on masks. I really don't like the idea. However, in terms of compromise, I would be more than willing to compromise if we would say, okay, keep the masks, but I need ID on the person. And I'm not talking about picture ID. I'm just talking about agency, hopefully badge number, and a last name. That's it. That's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for that much identification so it is not anonymous law enforcement. If they feel based on facial recognition and other reasons that they need to keep their faces secret, okay. But the idea that the entire person is kept secret, I would disagree with. Now, Mary, if you or I were in the room, could we agree on that, or would we start fighting some more on that one?
I can agree, definitely identifying the agency, and I'm struggling a little bit on the last name. But then again, there's so many, I guess, on that if I had like Lopez on the back of my vest, then yeah, I don't think that they should have a badge number on it.
Yeah.
In other words, so not so much that, in other words, the agency, in other words, if there's a problem, the agency can say, yes, it was Lopez, in other words, like what they're doing. Once they find out there's a need for that information on that agent to be out in the public, they've been putting it out.
Now, here's the thing is, what's odd about this, Mary, and I really appreciate the phone call, is that I would actually push more for badge number than last name, because the badge number is a singular identifier that then can be used for both, for those in charge and those not, rather than just a last name, because there could be a bunch of Lopez's or a bunch of Smiths or a bunch of Thompsons, probably only a handful of Thorpes. We're rather unusual. But still, the fact that there would be multiple ones, yeah.
That's the point. In other words, if that information could get out to the public, do the badge numbers get out to the public?
Yeah, and sometimes, but I'm curious about the back end of how to trace them. But again, I haven't done that, so I don't know how easy it is based on a badge number in order to dox someone versus facial recognition and last name. That's the issue, is I think that would be easier too. So I could get there on masks, although I don't like them.
That's the point. In other words, those agents don't need that stress.
I agree.
Thanks,
Look,
Mary. I appreciate the call.
Everybody
Thank you.
is
Have a great
fine
day,
with
Mary.
accountability. I want accountability as well. Bill wants accountability. What we don't want is doxing, harassment, intimidation by people simply because they disagree with the fact that you work for ICE. If you're violating people's constitutional rights, if you're beating up people, if you're terrible, then yeah, hold those folks accountable. And there is a process to do that right now. But as they've pointed out, as Homan and others have pointed out, is that you have a massive increase, a 1,500% increase in actual assaults. And threats are up over 8,000%. So, they don't deserve that. All right, we'll continue. Tony, Patrick, you guys are up. We do have an open line if you want to jump in. 303-696-1971. Now it's time for some weather.
The week will start off, well, where we left the weekend, very, very mild. High pressure and above average temperatures will continue, although the high pressure is slowly weakening, and the weather patterns are going to change in Colorado mid to late week, especially in the high country, where the high country is going to finally get back into the snow again. But for the front range, we're going to be unseasonably warm. Denver and Colorado Springs will see temperatures well up into the 60s again today. 30s tonight, although will be a touch cooler. 50s Tuesday and 50s and lower 60s Wednesday with increasing clouds. Then more noticeably cooler, temperatures beginning to trend down by Thursday and Friday, along with a chance for a few rain or snow showers along the front range, with snow returning to Colorado's high country mid to late in the week, and that trend will continue through most of the week into late Friday. Otherwise, continue to expect unseasonably mild temperatures and dry conditions again for the beginning of the week. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
.710 KNUS in Denver, Colorado.
And on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show, where you hear both sides in the debate raging this morning, as it is in Washington, D.C. The government shut down over funding issues regarding to Homeland Security changes Democrats want to see made there. Republicans willing to negotiate on some of them. I don't think Republicans have problems, for instance, with body cams. That is oftentimes proven to be beneficial to law enforcement and gotten the truth out there. But on some of this other stuff, no, they're not going to move on it. And so who do you blame? And do you want to see the government reopen? Let's go to the phone lines. Tony in Littleton. Good morning, Tony. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. So just a couple comments. I heard you guys going back and forth about whether they're actually breaking into houses, right? And you hadn't seen that. Excuse me, you hadn't seen that. Just 3 or 4 days ago, they show a case in Texas where 4 or 5 ICE agents break the front door, go in. The family's all shocked. The daughter's in the front room, mom's in the front room, dad's coming down the stairs. There's a lot of yelling going on, and they determine they got the wrong people. These people are citizens of the United States, and the father's got a camera. He's holding his phone up above his head, photographing all this. His wife is photographing it from another position in the room, and these guys realize they're in the wrong house, and they start going out, and the father's furious, and he's saying, get the F out, get the F out, get the F out, and they just start closing the door, and then they got pissed off that apparently at this guy, and so one runs right back in the house and levels this guy and puts him on the ground because they didn't like, he was being, I guess, too rough with them, yelling at them. So it does happen. And my point in saying that is I do wonder if you're just not getting it through your news feed. You're not seeing that.
No, hold on. In the example you gave, they got the wrong house. You're telling me that law enforcement never gets the wrong house?
No, they can get the wrong house, but this
that happens all the time.
One of these
and then Tony, I'm wondering this question: if law enforcement came into your house and it was the wrong house, would you be yelling at them that way?
The whole scene looked very violent. But look, we don't. I won't even debate. Let's not debate whether that was. You've got one position.
You gave me an example, but I don't think it's all that relevant to the conversation. Because the conversation is whether or not administrative warrants should be enough to enter a home. What ICE has said is that
operating with.
ICE has said that if there's a final deportation order, that should be enough. So we've gone through the entire judicial process. This person's been ordered to remove. They haven't. And now we still have to go back to another judge to get a judicial warrant to go get him? Do you think that's
Jeff,
right?
All right. No. So I'm going to. I was just merely putting on the table that those cases do exist. They do exist. You're not seeing them, which I'm curious about your news feed. Now, are you aware? Now, number one, Trump is the American public widely supports his closing of the border. That's Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. His closing of the border. They favor that. They think that's a great thing. They appreciate his work there. Are you also aware, though, that he's entirely upside down on deporting immigrants that are here that are here and they're working and so forth, and he's way upside down. And so as this continues, this is going to become an issue at the midterms. The more he does, the more Americans are upset about it. He's underwater. It's like 60, 62, 38, or and it's not quite that.
You don't think that Americans want mass deportations?
They do not want mass deportations.
I disagree.
That's one of the issues. That polling is so widespread, and you're not seeing it. That's kind of amazing. It's also I want to use this example. The Bondi testimony the other day, as I understand it, was never even shown on Fox, and Americans saw Bondi's horrible behavior in that testimony she gave to Congress, and the right is not seeing it if they're depending on Fox News, because Fox did not show that to their audience, and they're not showing you the polls that are showing that Trump is way underwater on deporting mass deportations. And so,
Tony, possibly, but look, all the media had that Trump was going to lose, Kamala was going to win, and then Trump runs that. And I think the American people are smarter than this. If there were massive levels of ICE raids into American homes, violating the Constitution, we would see it all over the news. It's not happening, and there's a debate.
You don't even know that he's underwater.
There's a debate happening over whether or not administrative orders are enough. In my mind, and I want to ask you this, Tony: if somebody, you
aren't even aware of the fact that he's underwater.
Don't care. No, I am aware of that. I see the polls. I don't care. I don't care.
You are part of that 30% that's hardcore and wants them gone, but
No, I think it's higher than that.
55% of the population is taking an opposite position.
No, most
You don't believe it. You just
Americans
don't wanna believe
support
it.
these mass deportations. Are fine to see them go. All right, Tony Littleton, we got to run here. I appreciate the call. Let's talk Mountain High Appliance. All right, their President's Day savings happening right now across all Mountain High Appliance showrooms. So whether you're replacing one appliance or planning a full kitchen remodel, you have great options. Save up to $4,200 on select KitchenAid appliance packages. Enjoy exclusive local deals not available at big box stores, like dishwashers starting at $359 and stainless steel kitchen packages starting at $1,999. When it's time for appliances, think Mountain High Appliance, your favorite appliance store, 3 locations in the Denver metro area, or online at mountainhighappliance.com. mountainhighappliance.com. Guys, you got to take advantage. President's Day savings happening right now. All right, we'll continue. Almost full lines. We'll get to Patrick next, but Tony's line is open if you want to jump in. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. More to come. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver.
And now on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you hear both sides. We are The Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS in Denver, Colorado.
And on AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show, where you get both sides. Text messages so hot on that last call. Tony, you're calling for a de facto amnesty. 5631 says. 4728, the pollers haven't asked me or anyone I know in my approximately 100-person circle. We want them all out. Old School Marm texting in. Tony just wants to let things ride where they are. Citizens are to be residents, whether they assimilate or not. Jacqueline, well, the polls are slanted, and so is the media, and the American people do not pay attention to any of the media anymore. We're smart enough to find the sources we want and the information we need. 6464, Tony from Littleton needs to take a week off. 2358, I question Tony's news feed. Fox did show Pam Bondi last week. My husband and I watched it. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Patrick in Denver. We're talking the government shutdown that's taking place right now. It's over ICE and some changes Democrats want to see. And do you agree with them? Let's go, Patrick, Denver. Good morning, Patrick. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning.
Yeah, that's not what I called about. But do I agree? Do I agree with who? The shutdown? No, I don't agree with it. Not at all.
How about ICE and the arrests?
Okay, that's what I was calling about. Mary hit it right on the. I'm going to do some research because nobody else is doing it. Are illegals protected under the Constitution? Right
yeah,
there,
they are. They are, Patrick.
To an extent. And this is the important nuance that people seem to have a hard time with. Yes, you break a criminal law when you cross the border. But the process that kicks up, and this has been agreed to by Congress, this isn't just made up, is that you get processed under a civil violation, in part because, not entirely, but in part because it would be so burdensome to the criminal justice system to get you out of here. The fact that we're going to hand you an attorney, we're going to do a 12-person jury trial, it's going to take multiple days. As the New York Times pointed out, that to do this would require a decade and billions of dollars. So just because we're not dumb people, we decided that, you're going to be processed civilly. Now you still get to have a due process in a sense. You get to claim asylum if you want to. If you want to go hire an immigration attorney, you've been wrongly detained. Yes, you get to do all that. But the idea that we're going to afford you all the criminal protections that fall under the Constitution just because you step foot in here just doesn't happen.
And the real core of this is, yes, you are subject to the laws and rules of the U.S. when you come in here, Patrick. And here's the idea. If those illegal immigrants weren't, then they wouldn't have violated the law by coming into the country in the first place. If they can't be held to a standard of our laws, we cannot prosecute them for breaking our laws. It also would mean that technically we wouldn't have to spend all this time and this burdensome energy deporting them. We could just shoot them in the streets because they would have no claim to anything. They would just be not supposed to be here. You have no rights. We can do with you as is. You're not even technically human at that point. So yes, they are covered. And remember, because if you want to hold them criminally responsible for crossing that border first, then that means you have to hold them responsible under our laws. If not, you got to let them go.
Yeah, but some of those bypassed all that. They just walked in and...
Well, yeah, but the issue, Patrick, is if we charge them for just walking in and saying that's illegal, we are then holding them to our laws. So yes, we can hold immigrants, even illegal ones, to our laws and standards. Yes, that's how you do it.
Well, okay, because I'm illegal. I had my green card twice. Once when I was 8 years old, then I went back to France, and I was re-sponsored to come back here at, I think, 22. I went 18, came back 22. Oh, my gosh, the sponsor had to make sure I wasn't going to be a bum and all that kind of stuff, you know. And then I went in the U.S. I was drafted in the U.S. Army. But I have a lot of friends that are legal, and they're all pissed off. I mean, they just can't understand why they had to go through all this BS when all they had to do was just walk across the border.
Yeah,
I get it.
I understand the frustration. Yes.
Yeah.
And not be accountable.
Yeah.
I don't have to get a job.
And guys, this is where
they do get jobs, though. I mean, that's the
but
thing.
this is
that's
where
that's the issue. Is this
well,
assumption that they
I
don't?
mean, yeah, you have a bankrupted city of Denver
Ask
that fact.
Ask the construction industry in Florida what it's like not having the immigrants. It's ground to a halt in many areas. So it's not as if these people came in and then just and lived off the largesse of the American taxpayers. If they did, we wouldn't be showing up at restaurants and other places to arrest them if they're not going to work.
Yeah, but now are you aware of what's going on in Europe right now, especially England?
In what way?
Oh, they have massive riots. They burned down over 14 hotels over the weekend because all these illegals come right in and they give them 3- and 4-star hotel rooms, and some of the people are not having their retirement pay, can't pay their heating bills because all that money is going to them. And the same problem, the Labour Party over there in England, what they're doing is they want those guys because in 5 or 6 years there is going to be a vote for them. Does that sound familiar?
See, I understand that, Patrick. I understand what you're saying, but do you really think that the whole idea is that to bring in all these illegal immigrants because they're going to vote for one particular party?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, then if you assume that, why would the other party not also make a play for them? Why are we assuming that they only will vote for one party? And the reason I submit that in this conversation with you is because let's go back just recently to the most recent presidential election. Donald Trump got an enormous share of the Hispanic vote.
Oh, yes.
Now, so the idea, so Patrick, what I'm challenging is this assumption that because this group of people is X, they're always going to vote this way. I think that's the bad assumption that many Democrats have made for years about certain minorities, because they're always going to vote for us, and and in my mind, it bit them in the rear end in the 2024 election with seeing Hispanics leave because they didn't understand what was happening in that population. So can we assume they're always going to vote one way?
Oh no! As a matter of fact, I kind of know it because my wife's Chinese, so
yeah,
they're pretty. They don't like that either. But but the thing is that the Republicans should get off their duffs and start doing the same thing the Democrats are doing, educating them on why they should vote Republican. Because for them, the word democracy is what catches. They don't understand the language, but they understand the word democracy, and so they vote Democrat because that's democracy.
That makes sense.
See,
yeah, I appreciate it, Patrick. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Patrick's line is open. If you want to jump in, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's talk Gyrie's, folks. My wife and I went to the Gyrie's location in Parker. Had an absolutely fantastic experience. They're all over the Denver metro area. We got to sit down with a professional designer. How cool is that? Who showed us an incredible selection of Hunter Douglas custom blinds, shades, and shutters. My wife, very creative, lots of questions. This was like heaven for her. She just got to jump in and mix it all up. I was a little overwhelmed, but the designer was a real pro. She walked us through everything and helped us find the perfect option to enhance the look and functionality of our home. And in fact, we're going back now for a second time. Like many of you, you can update your home a little bit here, and then you save up, and then you update a little bit more there. That's what we're doing. So whether your curtains are clashing or you just want a fresh look, Gyrie's has the solutions for you. They're designers or the experts, and they can help you with everything from window treatments to full room decor. Here's the best part. They offer a personalized in-home consultation. They come directly to you, so you can get the same expert advice right in your own home that we got in ours. Do yourself a favor. Get started today. Visit Gyrie's.com to schedule your in-home consultation. That's GUIRYS.com, GUIRYS.com. Go see the great people at Gyrie's. You'll be sure to thank me. All right, let's go back to the phone lines, Bill. Paul, Colorado Springs. Good morning, Paul. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Great conversations. You know, I got to tell you, I'm a Democrat. I've been my whole life, 40-something years right out of high school. And I'm Hispanic. I'm Mexican Hispanic, born and raised in Denver. I'm embarrassed of the Democrats. I am so embarrassed because they act like children. They're not telling us what they're going to do to try to help change. What they're doing is just arguing and arguing, and they won't get off the same case. Now, I agree, being Hispanic, born and raised, my family's been here since the Conquistadores, that when you cross the border, you broke the law. And I honestly believe go into churches, go into schools, get these bad people out of here. Now, the good people, the good Mexican culture that came over here years ago, they're actually great, abiding, helping with society. And
Paul, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How do we determine who are the bad people and who are the good people? Because there you said there were people that brought in good parts of the culture and things like this years ago. How do we determine, in your mind, who are the bad people, who are the good people?
Well, that's an easy question because I actually live and know a lot of them that are probably not legal, but they've been here a long time. And they get up, they go to their jobs, they have families, they go to churches, they actually really give to society and the community. And they actually would like to become some type of citizen or visas or to be a part of the community. But then you see
Paul,
that
I'm gonna interrupt you right there because most of MAGA, in my opinion, wants all of those people out. They are part of the designated mass deportation. None of those people, in my opinion, according to what I hear from MAGA, none of those people are okay. So should they be part of this ICE administration, round them up and get them out of here? Again, if you're saying those are the good people, do those have to go as well?
I think what happens is we're dug in so deep that nobody knows how to fix it. And that would be, man, it's going to take a lot. But I think we need to start somewhere. And I think the schools, with a lot of people, if you see most of these protests that are going on, except LA, they're not Hispanics. They're not even the Mexican culture. They're a lot of white people.
Yeah, it's like day without an immigrant. Well, I went down to that rally. There's all a bunch of white suburban women with a mariachi band.
Sure, and a lot of them are probably having them work for them for under minimum wage.
That's exactly right.
We don't hear that. But if you see the construction industry, which I own my own construction business, if you see that they'll hire illegals and then they won't even pay them fair and treat them fair.
That's right.
So it's so messy. But let's take a step back to the Democrats. The party now is not a Democrat party. The party now is about their own self. They're selfish and they're about their income. If you take a look, I'd love to see their taxes, because how do you get wealthy? Some of these Democrat Party senators, congressmen, they're multimillionaires.
Well, I mean, before we say it's only the Democrats, we can see the same increase of personal wealth on the Republican side of the ledger as well. It is both sides.
Right.
It is both sides too.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
And here's the thing:
but
I think we should make a rule that while in Congress, they shouldn't be able to trade stock. Jeff, my buddy right here across the glass, outlined for us on the Jeff and Bill show just last week that this was weird. I mean, I'm just going to share this with you, Paul. That our senator Hickenlooper, he knew he made this trade of $100,000 days before a company was awarded a multi-billion-dollar government contract. The government contract hadn't been announced yet. This publicly traded company, it's obvious their stock is going to go up once they get $8 billion from the government.
Right.
But strangely enough, our Senator Hickenlooper had the strategic market timing and the incredible economic insight to know that, he was on the committee that awarded the contract. So he had previous information and traded on it. And they do that to us every single day, regardless of whether or not there's a deer and R beside their name.
I agree with you. And let me add to that. People stay voting for him, too. How do you like that? Because when you come out of high school, and you're Hispanic, the one thing they bred you from the day you're born is to be Catholic and Democrats. Because Democrats are poor, Republicans are rich. Well, we know that's not true now. And to change that type of thinking, it's going to take years if we ever do it. I have a lot of family members that they don't even want to listen to anything that makes sense. I'll give you an example. It makes sense for voter ID. You need a driver license. You need that to cash a check. You need that to go and register for anything. Number two, they don't believe in breaking the law if you cross the border. They think it's okay. Well, then give me your address. Let me break in your house and don't do nothing to me. It just doesn't make sense, but it goes back to if you got to explain it to them, they're not going to understand. So what do we got to do? The Democrat Party right now should step up and say, hey, we're going to work with ICE. We're going to work with the police department here in Denver and Colorado, and you just do what you've got to do. Get the bad people out. We'll figure out the good people. Somehow.
Now, Paul, I'm going to surprise this on you. I'm not sure if this is fair, but Paul's calling us from Colorado Springs. And as you've been listening, if you just joined us part of the way through, Paul is a longtime Democrat, but he is spitting nails mad at many of the Democrats, both locally and nationally, about how they've been going forward. So, Paul, this is what I need you to do. Here on the Jeff and Bill Show at 8:41 in the morning on President's Day, I need you to put your political strategist hat on for me. Here's what I want to know. I put you in the room with all of the movers and shakers in the Colorado GOP. They're putting together the strategy coming up for this year's midterms, chasing governor's mansion, chasing Senate seats, chasing representative seats, chasing treasurer, AG, and more. What is your single best advice you would give to the Colorado GOP to get people just like you to vote for him?
Well, first of all, we need a business mind here in Colorado. We have a lot of smart people that run successful businesses. They're the ones that should be making the decisions with our taxpayer money. Whether you're Republican or Democrat and you've been in Colorado, if you can see the last 20 years, it's a mess. And how do you get rid of them? You got to get them out. If you don't vote them out and get somebody in that is just, there's a right and there's a wrong, period. We can argue this with the Constitution. We can argue this all day long, but it's either right or it's wrong. And until you can do that, which I don't know in my lifetime I'll ever see it, but I'm training my own family. My son, my grandkids, my cousins, I'm teaching them that follow the money. Don't follow the politician, follow their money. See where it comes from. Bernie's a perfect example. You see where he gets all his money from? The health industry.
Paul,
thank you, man.
A lot of common sense there.
Dude,
appreciate the call.
Appreciate the time.
Paul from Colorado Springs. His line open at 303-696-1971.
And Paul, some of those people were listening that run the GOP, so hopefully they heard you.
They do. And some Democrats that run their party too.
Yeah, but
I get the text messages.
They don't tell anybody they're listening. It's not allowed.
It's true. All right, more to come. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver.
And now on AM 1460, FM 101.1.